Welcome to Friday Focus. It's December 18th, 2015. And I'm going to talk about, we talked before about hitting your goals and setting goals, set them kind of high. But I'm going to talk today about how to get there. And sometimes when we imagine doing something much better, we look at this high target and this high cliff. How do I get to the top of that mountain? And we don't realize getting to the top of the mountain could be a series of small steps. You could try to run up the whole thing. You're probably going to fail. But you could kind of make a plan. I'm going to get up to the certain elevation, camp overnight, get some water refills, and then have some supplies up a little higher and eventually get to the top of the mountain. That's how I do Mount Everest. Just run to the top to get to the base camp and kind of prepare. So I'm going to talk about what I would call the 10% rule, okay? The 10% rule. So 10% rule means 1/10. Now the question is, when you're looking at any effort in your life, could you get 10% more out of what you're doing now? And I don't mean 10% more time. I mean, can you work smarter or more efficiently or put more effort in what you're doing and achieve 10%? And most of us say, yeah. I know I could do 10%, probably eat 10% healthier. I could probably exercise 10% more. I could probably read 10% more and spend 10% more time with my kids. And I would probably do that at the expense of things that are unhealthy. Like if I was eating 10% healthier, I'd obviously eat more, like I was eating some candy over here because we have this Christmas stuff. And I know I shouldn't be eating that, but I just dug into it before the meeting. Or 10% more exercise, that might be smart because I'll be doing that instead of sitting on a couch. Or reading, I want to exercise my mind instead of like doing something idle that I don't want to do. So we know we can do 10%. So let's talk about how 10% at a time can help you achieve big goals. Now imagine if you've heard of the term compounded interest. So let's say you put away $1,000 at some crazy amount like 17% interest. It'll eventually turn into $1 million. I don't remember what that number is, but when I was a kid and at 18 years old, interest rates were 17%. And I bought this CD at 17%. And I thought, well, in 22 years, that's $1 million. Well, it turns out the interest rate was only good for 1 year, and it went down to nothing. So that didn't turn into 17%, $170. But compounded interest means that year one, 1,000 goes to 1,017. But the next year, that number grows. It might go to, the interest instead of being $170 might be $200. And the next time it might be $300 because compounded interest means that the one effort you did, the next one growing 10% bigger is more than 10% of the first one. So compounding your efforts are beneficial. Just like if you want to make yourself more healthy, you could say, I'm going to do 10% eating better, 10% more exercise, 10% more meditating, and 10% more time with family and friends. You get more than a 40% increase, okay, because you know I did 4 things. So let's look at things we can do to, let's say, double, okay? So what happens if we did 10% more marketing effectiveness? Now, if we made our marketing efforts 10% more effective, that would mean we get 10% more patients from the same marketing. So that could be through better creative, new ideas, new outlets that we haven't tapped into before, paying more attention to marketing, looking at the numbers better. That's what Mary's been doing. She's been working on trying to make our effectiveness of the marketing better. So that would 10% more effort. Could we do that? Yeah. What about call conversion? So if people call in, can we step up our efforts 10% more? Well, we probably can. And we've known that we can because when we make efforts on training and we set up a call center bonus, it just kind of happened. Okay, in fact, we were up more than 10%. So we could possibly do that, do another 10%. What about reducing no-shows by 10%? Could we do that? No-show rate might be 30%. Recently we got down to like 22%. So that's something that we can do. We could probably do that again. Just keep reducing no-show rates. So these 3 things here, 10%, would that increase our patience? Yeah. These clearly would increase our patience. What about increasing our patient revenue? How about increasing conversion or sales? So let's say a person has a 30% conversion rate. 3 out of 10 people convert, or 30 out of 100 people convert. Could they get that number to 33 out of 100? Of course you can. Okay, it wouldn't be a huge effort. Now we said go from 30 to 60. That's a big step. Maybe you can do that over years, but in 1 year or 1 period of time, you probably can't go up by 100%, but you certainly go up by 10%. What about the size of the sale? Size of the sale. So recently I've been kind of experimenting with getting over my own bias of how much people will pay for filler. And I've told you guys this 100 times, that the more people spend, the happier they are. And we sometimes have our own financial bias of what people want to spend their money on, but it's really up to them, not to you. So if you're a car salesman and you're selling a car and you see that this woman wants a certain type of car and you try to talk her out of it into a used car that maybe she doesn't want, you've saved her money, but you've ruined the value, okay? So the size of the sale, and I've basically doubled my revenue per filler patient by going from 2,000 to 4,000. It wasn't that hard. I doubled it. I don't expect you to double it, but I'm saying 10%, not that hard. If you're doing hair removal, adding the area on, that's clearly more than 10%. And how about increasing by 10% rebooks? A rebooking rate really isn't where it's at. And when we started the new thing with Botox and filler, giving them a $50 coupon, it's only at 60% at this office in Shelby. It's a little better at one of the other offices. But the rebook rate's going from 60% to 66%. That'd be substantial, and that'd help our business out. And we put this thing in place. Maybe we're not watching it good enough. But if we notch that 10%, can we do it 10% again? We probably can. And what about increasing our referrals by 10%? That just involves asking the patients. We have, in a given day between all our offices, we might have 400 patients rolling through. And how many referrals are we getting? Maybe we could do a little bit better with that. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if you take 10% times, if you take, say, $100 times 10%, 1.10 to the 7th power, you get 194. You basically doubled your business. Okay, so 10% of the time, we could be double as effective. And this is not just for work. I was using work as an example because we all work together. But even in your life, if you were to take and improve your activities by 10% in 7 aspects of what you're trying to achieve, you will double it. Okay, if you want to have a 10 times better, double as effective relationship with your spouse, find 7 or 8 things that you could do 10% better, and you will double your effectiveness. Okay, because those things compound on themselves. And that's what I want to talk about today was the idea of when we're talking about these goals, getting there sometimes is confusing. But you got to break it down. Break it down into parts. So I broke it down into the different things that we do, from the marketing, call conversion, decreasing no-shows, increasing conversion and compliance to our patients that come in, increasing the size of the sale, increasing referrals. Just a little bit of effort on every one of those doubles our business. And you can do the same thing in your personal life. So that's the Friday Focus. Thank you very much.